here, looking at my
You can
head.
never tell in Thailand.
Right. I certainly agree with Kun Ling. I have two comments, really. First of all, I think we must remain women. And I think women are charming. I think we are charming. And I think I was the first chemical engineer that came back to Thailand from overseas to start the chemical engineering department at Chulalongkorn University. And I have been in the teaching profession. I've been serving royalties. I've been working with my family's business. And I've just lost my dear husband only about 100 days ago, exactly 100 days ago yesterday. So I'm now having to assume chairmanship in at least 4 companies, of which I have never been involved because I have kept husband's business away from my profession. But I don't think that's going to be very difficult because all our lives, all the way, we've been discussing various issues and sharing issues between the two of us. He is a mechanical engineer, but he runs a chemical industry. I am a chemical engineer, but I run economics researches because I also read economics. So often he has problems or issues relating to chemistry, which I was able to help.
I'm going to have to ask you to wind up. I'm sorry, I've got to pass on to the next thing.
So the fact that I want to say is that we women here are talking to each other. We must talk to men. I mean, we've got to talk more to men so that they can understand us in the way we do things. And this is why I had exemplified the relationship between myself and my husband. We must talk to men, and I think men should actually listen more. I think Thailand has no problem with women, but I think there are a lot of Thai men that do not listen. And I think this is where I think is a great stepping stone, is an obstacle, that they don't listen to us. I don't know, at least in the Orient anyway, I think men still have that feeling of being that cut above. But I think more and more are becoming to accept and understand that we go to university, we have the same education, they just need to listen to us a little bit more.
Thank you.
Well, I think that you're
you.
absolutely right, and I'm sure your husband listened to you, and that's why you're the chair of 4 companies following his sad demise. But thank you for your comments, and thank you very much to, you can talk, you're always talking, I'll talk now. And thank you very much to my wonderful panel, to Harold, for your sharing your incredible insights and soothing my troubled soul, actually, up here on stage, and to Shrid for coming down from Kuala Lumpur and not catching COVID, yay. And to Jim, if you can still hear me, thank you very, very much for being such a stoic and joining us from a wheelchair. I think it's the first time you've probably had someone in a wheelchair on here. That's great. And thank you very much for all your attention, and I really appreciate it, and it's great to see you all here again in person.
I hope the prior speaker values these men who do listen. This is why we invite men to the summit. And I hope you all appreciated Ms. Angela Mackay, who asks the tough questions in a nice way. And understand what it means to have humanistic leadership. Okay, can I have Gwen Robinson up here, please? And the 3 IBMers on the panel, if you could please come up quickly. And if you all could be patient, I know we are half an hour away from lunch.
that side or this side? It's okay. I think Good morning or afternoon, everybody, and sorry to be standing in the way of you and lunch. This is a very brief and I hope very fruitful, what's called a fireside chat. No firesides here in Bangkok, but you get what the sense of the mood is. We hope to have an informal discussion with this excellent lineup of speakers here. And as you heard, I'm Gwen Robinson, Editor-at-Large of Nikkei Asia. And I'm going to introduce our panel very shortly, but just to make a couple of comments. We heard earlier in Irene's excellent presentation that IBM, the iconic computer brand, made groundbreaking steps on diversity years before other big corporates, creating the position of Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion, and the company can now report that women run the vast majority of its operations in the Asia-Pacific region. Pretty good achievement. Various IBM country subsidiaries are headed by women, as well as featuring regional general managers of product lines. So today, we're very lucky to have the country general manager of IBM Philippines and leaders of IBM Consulting and Technology for the Asia-Pacific region. We're hoping in this discussion to get insights into why such diversity has succeeded in a region and an industry that's still very much male-dominated. So to introduce our panelists, right next to me is Aileen Hudan Yao, President and Country General Manager, IBM Philippines. She's the first homegrown Filipino Country General Manager of IBM and is currently responsible for overall business performance and growth of IBM in the Philippines. She started her career as a technical systems engineer and worked her way up across various technical and leadership roles within the Philippines and throughout the Asia-Pacific region. In addition, she's the chairperson of the Women in the C-Suite Committee for the Makati Business Club. Next to her is Gayatri or Guy Parthasarathi, Vice President and Senior Partner, Asia-Pacific Financial Services, IBM Consulting, India. She's currently serving as Vice President and Senior Partner for Asia-Pacific Financial Services for IBM Consulting and has extensive experience in leadership positions in India and global markets, including Europe and I think the US. Her specializations include strategy, governance, transformation, large multi-jurisdictional and complex programs, sourcing and offshoring projects, and she first started working for IBM India in 2013 before serving as senior partner with KPMG India and then returning to IBM in her current role in 2020. I'll move on to, last but not least, Agnes Hefberger, General Manager and Technology Leader, ASEAN ZK. I guess that's how you pronounce it. She's the General Manager and Technology Leader for that unit, spearheading IBM's growth in Australia, Southeast Asia, New Zealand, and Korea. She leads IBM's engagement and collaboration with clients in order to scale innovation in their digital transformation efforts through the adoption of IBM's hybrid cloud and AI capabilities and through a strong ecosystem of partners. Before this, she was a member of the board of IBM Germany and Vice President Sales for IBM in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. She started her career in IBM Central Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Africa in 2001. So we've got an impressive lot of experience up here. Before hearing from our panelists, I'd just like to share an observation which came, to my surprise, from reading research by BCG and Singaporean government units that Southeast Asian technology companies actually have a better record of hiring women than tech companies in many developed countries. More broadly, however, I think the gender gap is still a glaring problem in this industry, the tech industry. But ironically, due to the industry's rapid growth and constant need for talent and innovation, it's a key sector to lead change in the areas we've been discussing, and in many areas it has. But interestingly, the study I was reading also found that companies with more women in their workforces and leadership show better performance, and of course a more vibrant technology sector, as we all know, can help national economies grow. The most interesting aspect of this research was the identification of 3 moments of truth that play a key role in women pursuing long-term careers in tech. Those 3 moments of truth are, first, their choice of subject majors at college, and then the selection of their first job, and finally, their decision to stick with a tech career once they've started. So, turning to our speakers, you're all from diverse but extremely impressive backgrounds, so I'd like to ask each of you to describe very briefly how you moved into this field and the biggest challenges you faced. Starting with you, Aileen, what made you want to be a systems engineer?
Yeah, okay, maybe very, very briefly. I graduated from college with the technical course. It's computer science. So it's my 3rd job in IBM. And all my time working for 33, 34 years has been in tech. And I've wanted to become systems engineer because I was dreaming of becoming a distinguished engineer, you know, because one of the very first few during that time, not many women. It has been very, very much dominated by males. I wanted to make that difference and prove the point. I come from a family where I have many brothers, 4 brothers, so you keep on trying to prove yourself, but in tech and in the industry, it was a different moment, right? So yes, that's how I stayed in there, and I loved it. I loved the flexibility in IBM, you know, the culture that nurtures women in the tech space as well as in management. And here I am, still here for 3 decades.
Right. Thank you. We'll come back to you very much, including that 3rd moment of truth of the decision to stick to that career, but we'll come back to that. Guy, over to you.
Thanks for asking this question. It's just maybe related to what you just heard, but also a little bit more different. I would call it as maybe a divine intervention. In my family, we are 4 sisters and 1 brother. So we are already dominated by women at home, right? If you consider my mom and grandmom, 6 against 2, my dad and my brother. So that's the way I started. I absolutely, to the 3 principles Gwen said, I think I did mathematics, not computer science maybe, but relatively closer, I would say somewhere mid-path, mathematics and statistics, and choosing a job in technology as the first one was Digital Equipment Corporation, and stuck to technology, but in one industry, financial services, for the last 34 years. So that way, I think the principles do apply, and I agree with that. And I've had some extensive, I would say, experience in IBM, outside of IBM, in Accenture.